Are live, y'all. We are back in the building. Yes. Y'all, all of those who are returning with us, you guys already know what to do right now. This is our time to like and share. Share, share, share. I got it. Did you see it? Ned, were you able to see it pop up on your end? I think he's frozen. Jackie, did you see it pop up on your end? Ned actually shared it, even though he's frozen. He shared.
It's on.
Love it. Okay, it's on. Good, 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 good. I can't see it for whatever reason. It's not coming up. I'm maybe because I'm sitting in it. But it is that time. Hey, 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 everybody. We are back here in the building, in the throne room, the place and space that we have created for us to be able to purge from our issues, heal from our wounds, and find rest so that we can transform into that which we have been called and created to become. And you all know what that is. That is
Royalty.
royalty.
Yes.
We have been gone, y'all. We've been gone for almost a month, but we are back. I don't know about you, Jackie, mom, of course, and my brother Ned, but I am so happy to be back here on the platform to be able to have our conversations. These conversations are just as much for me as they are for everybody else, and so I'm excited to be back today to pick up where we've left off. What's going on, guys? How you feeling?
I'm glad to be back as well here with Jackie and Ned and Lady for all of us together
Yes,
and to have a guest at the
yes,
table.
Yes.
Yes, I'm excited
yes,
about today's conversation and the reunion, right?
Yeah, this,
yes.
this is actually the first time we've all been on
Yeah,
together. With our separate shows and
Really?
separate things, we've all been, doing our own thing. But now we all get a chance to be on today live at 5
Yeah,
together.
that's right. That's right. So plug it in. So Jackie, tell the people who you are, where you're from. Those who are new listening to us, they don't know anything about you. So tell them about yourself.
You can tell about myself. So, yeah.
Yeah, tell them
Um,
about who you are from
I'm
For Your
Jackie
Mind.
Oliver of For Your Mind Incorporated. I'm from Brick City, New Jersey. Brick City in the house, always representing everywhere I go. I'm glad to be back. I've been off for a while, a couple months, but
Yeah.
glad to be back on with you guys and sharing wisdom. And I look forward to picking up some wisdom from Mama
Miss
Boobies
Boobies.
and Lady Ford
No.
Yes.
off
That
the
drip.
book. Yes, I'm
Mom, go
sure
ahead.
that all can run down.
That's
right.
right. That's right. Mom, go ahead and tell everybody about yourself, where you from. If y'all didn't know this, my mama. Y'all, I love her.
Well,
That's our mama.
currently I
That's
was
our mama.
born
We
and
feel
raised
Yeah,
born and
she
raised
ours.
in New Jersey, educated outside of New Jersey, connected with a lot of different places. I currently reside in this wonderful state, the Peach State,
Yes.
Georgia. Am an educator, a community servant, as well as a servant of God and His people. Closely connected, and co-founder of this wonderful ministry. And background, see myself in the background, pushing and supporting and elevating our youth and supporting the journey.
Yes. 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 Whoop whoop. Miss Boobies, mommy, aka Lady Ford, the lady of all ladies, my other mama who have all that drip. Okay, I just be trying to get some
No,
of
his
it.
mother.
Right?
Um, I'm Marjorie Ford. I stay right here in the city of Fort Myers. Been in ministry along with my husband for the last 33 years. Um, I have a ministry called Push to Inspire, where I motivate women to be all they can
Whoop
and
whoop.
just push for their dream. I'm a
Yes.
servant of the Lord.
Mm, mm.
Yes.
I like that.
Our brother, he is having some technical
Believer.
difficulties, but you know that he is my twin. He'll be back on. But in the meantime, we got another brother in the building.
Yeah.
Woo, woo,
Yes,
woo.
yes.
Our guest, but not a guest, but he a guest today, but he's going to turn into family soon. Mr. Howard Sapp, introduce yourself to the people.
Hello, everyone. It is so good to be here. I'm just excited about just about being a part of the conversation. Really,
Yeah.
it is exciting. Again, Howard Sapp. I'm currently running for state office. I am a representative for the State House of Representative for District 78, which is basically encompasses Fort Myers for the most part. Other outlining areas have been depending on how they drew the line, but I'm running for state office. But originally from Fort Myers, I'm a retired air traffic controller. I worked air traffic for over 30 years.
Whoa.
Wow.
So I was up in DC,
Oh, yeah.
came back home and started going to work, so just looking at the things here in Fort Myers that just wanting to make a difference, so again, my family has been here, they've done,
A
working,
lot.
here in the city, in the area, in the church. So, hey, grew up in the church, so, hey, when we want to talk church, I'm ready to talk church too, so, but
No
definitely
separation
just,
of church and state here.
Oh, look.
ain't no separation.
That's all
Ain't no
right. That's
separation.
all right.
Like they said, Jesus paid it all. God did it all.
Right.
So
Speak it.
but
Speak it.
yeah. So I'm just excited to be a part.
Yeah, we're excited to have you here with us, joining and tuning in with us. Today is a very special day as we all come back in, very much aware of where we are in the economic state that we're in, very much aware of a lot of things that are happening around us, that everybody is dealing with something
Mhm.
as we hold up the month of August, thinking about our mental wellness.
Mhm.
This month for me is one of those months and times of the year that really makes me think about where I am and where I am in life and where I want to go. And I got a chance to sit down the other day and begin to think about all of the things that have been happening to me over the long haul. And I just want to give a special shout out to all of the faithful friends, family, listeners who sent well wishes to me as I was trying to get myself back together, get grips on my life, y'all, because I was sick for a little while. Just want to give y'all an extra special shout out for caring for me. But I got a chance to take this as a time to reflect on where I am. And then this epiphany came that there has been, this is also the anniversary for Dr. Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. And inside of this speech, there's so much wealth of information. But what Dr. King was really looking at in this moment was the fact that we need to hold on to something, that we have to keep the faith and the hope alive to know that we can overcome all it is that we are facing. And so, as I think about uh, how do we uphold mental health wellness, right? This mental wellness space. I thought about the fact that we need to be able to have a space to come together to talk about where the needs are and those who are advocating for us. I had a clip, so we took just a small piece out of Dr. Martin Luther King's speech that we're just going to hold up for a quick second. I'm going to share it with us just for a few seconds so we get an opportunity to hear where we're coming from. Up before we do, we have our brother. He back in, brother.
Back. My
You
apologies. Oh my
come
goodness.
on in, brother Ned. That's all right. Go ahead and tell the people who you are. We ain't going to start without letting them know who you are too.
Well, I appreciate you guys being in a little bit of a technical delay for me. But for those of you who don't know, my name is Ned White. I am part of Pure Care Ministries, and I am excited to be back on with us. As I heard you guys mentioning before, I had my fade out. We have been away from each other for a minute, and it is exciting, and I'm happy to see each and every one of you. and have an opportunity to again just share with our viewers, hopefully some wonderful stuff as we pull the covers off.
Yes, yes, yes. So back to why we're here today. We're gonna play this small little excerpt from the "I Have a Dream" speech, and we're gonna get started for today.
I am not unmindful that some of you have come here out of great trials and tribulations. Some of you have come fresh from narrow jail cells. Some of you have come from areas where your quest for freedom left you battered by the storms of persecution and staggered by the winds of police brutality. You have been the veterans of creative suffering. Continue to work with the faith that unearned suffering is redemptive. Go back to Mississippi. Go back to Alabama. Go back to South Carolina. Go back to Georgia. Go back to Louisiana. Go back to the slums and ghettos of our northern cities. Knowing that somehow this situation can and will be changed. Let us not wallow in the valley of despair. I say to you today, my friend, exalted.
That that piece for me, alongside of this
Every
ending
valley
piece.
shall be exalted. And every hill and mountain shall be made low. The rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight. And the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope. This is a faith that I go back to the South with. With this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope.
Mm.
With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. This will be the day. This will be the day when all of God's children will be able to sing with new meaning, "My country, tears of thee."
Yeah.
Sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And if America is to be a great nation, this must become true. And so let freedom ring from the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire.
I think that that was so powerful. I'm going to stop it right there because that in itself was just so powerful. Our faith, our ability to be, in the beginning, he said, I am not unmindful that some of you have come here out of great trials and tribulations, that you have come fresh from narrow jail cells. Some have come from areas where your quest for freedom left you battered by the storms of persecution and staggered by the winds of police brutality. You have been the veterans of creative suffering. Continue to work with the faith that unearned suffering is redemptive. I don't know. I'm just gonna throw it out there at this moment when we think about this dream, and the relevancy of what Dr. Martin Luther King had to say, the relevancy for it today. Where does that leave you? What does that? What are your feelings about what we just heard?
I'm always, Dr. King has been one of those giants that inspired me from a youth. And I don't know if it was just my generation or what, but it was like, I want to be like Dr. King. I want to be like Dr. King because of all he embodied and in his youth. So because as a youth, I was able to connect to him because that's where he was at that time. Those words that he spoke We're talking about from a perspective of wellness, a mental wellness, not just individual mental wellness for the individual, but mental wellness for our community as a whole. Not just our community, but for our nation as a whole. When he starts to outline the specifics of the brokenness, it's like he's talking to today.
Yes.
Brutality, the poverty, the police, the prison the situation, the reform, all of these education, all of these things that are ailments in society today, those things may remain the same. And so it sends chills through my body when I think about that. And when he speaks to the situation, and then he speaks to a possibility. From the problem to possibility, but the solution is not evident at the time, but he presents a possibility.
Yeah.
And that's where we are today. And I like how when he talked about being battered, and I think about the effects of COVID-19, the effects of the inflation and not getting inflation in our salaries, but food prices are going up, gas prices are going up, mortgage, and it's like you can't win for losing. And when you talk to people in the community, as most of us do on a regular basis, you tend to feel their hopelessness. You tend to feel their battered and their bruised. And sometimes I tell people all the time, when you're in a position, as most of us are, you have to do that self-insulation, because it's easy, because we're caregivers, because we're leaders, because we're community people, to take on the burdens of others along with our own burdens, right?
Gotcha.
However, it doesn't change the situation. And some people are in a situation of hopelessness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do we, people of the cloth, community leaders, how do we, even with our own situations, breathe life and hope into a community that is downtrodden, that feels destined to fail? You know, I talked to somebody today, and when she said that to me, that's why I said those words, destined to fail. I'm like, no, you're destined to win.
Right.
When you look at how people view things and people's perspective of their situations, you talk about hope deferred.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, that's good. You know, it's one of the things that, even as Ms. Oliver was saying, how do we, project that into a community, of what we have today. And even as Dr. Martin Luther King was talking about, and when he said, if America is going to be great, if America is going to be great, and that's one of the things I like, because even if you go back to scripture, it said that if my people who are called by my name, and there are certain things that you had to do to humble themselves, pray, seek my face, turn from your wicked ways, then will he. And then like Dr. King was saying now, that if America is going to be great, we have to let freedom ring. And today in our communities, a lot of times, and I think we've said it before, not today, but I'm sure we've all heard it. Sometimes people are imprisoned and don't even know that they're imprisoned.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
People can be in prison and be free.
Yes.
Because when we begin to look at our communities now, and that's one of the things that really bothered me, that when I came back, I saw such a complacency of where people were. And I'm saying we can't live like this of accepting what people want to just think that we need. No, we can't accept that. You have to be able to allow yourself to say, look, no, I'm not going to accept this. This is not what I deserve. I'm going to create for myself what I feel as though I deserve. How do I break out of those bonds of just accepting what people have for me and begin to make, look, this is what I'm going to do. If it's for me to start my own business, this is what I'm going to do. If it's for me to go back to school, get my education, yes, there's going to be challenges, but I'm going to be free. One way or another, just like when we, the slave owner, those that were placed in slavery, they said one way or another, I'm going to be free.
Me free.
And here
I'm
are
Mhm.
the
going to be
after.
free in life, or I'm going to be free in death. One way or another, I'm going to be free.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, yeah. Listen. I have to say that, Brother Sapp, I appreciate your perspective on that because share those same sentiments. I think that one of the things that hearing that speech from King did for me was it reminded me of the mantle that we all have, and that we have to take on the responsibility that he speaks about, because
Mhm.
that's the piece that a lot of folks kind of miss. That it's a profound speech, but it speaks to the responsibility that each and every one of us has to carry, and making sure that freedom rings.
Yes.
You know,
Mhm.
it doesn't ring by itself. No bell rings without
Yeah.
someone, someone action of hitting it or shaking it or rattling. So if we aren't willing to ring the bell and start the businesses or create the mentoring programs or establish a narrative that says there's hope in our communities, then that bell never sounds. And then who's at fault? Right? Who do we point the finger at? Because we could always, as we've been doing for years, I think, pointing a finger and saying, hey, they're not doing this for me, or
There you go.
this not happening.
Mm-hmm.
But King's speech speaks to each and every one of us,
One of
the
them.
inner each and every one of
Yes.
us, about taking up the mantle, taking on the responsibility. And like you said, by hook or by crook, I'm going to be free. And here or
Yes.
the after, it's not going to be any other option for me.
That's it.
Yeah.
I like that, Ned, and I'm not leaving it up to nobody else.
No.
It's
Yeah.
something that I'm gonna do, and that's part of growing up in the urban community. I grew up in
Mm,
the projects, and I would always say nobody comes in and does this. We do this ourselves. We
right.
can't blame people for coming in and violence in our community. We can't blame people for coming in and stealing cars. That's our community. And when you live in a situation like that, you always let me personalize this. I always think there's got to be better. How do you
Right.
take people that have no sense of value, some of them no sense of self, and
Mm-hmm.
help them to find purpose, help them to find hope? And in the community where I grew up, when you walk down the streets, I was driving my mom to the doctor today, and just the drive, you can just see the disparity. I mean, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
If it's not
Yeah.
a wake up call every day they come into our city, and every day we walk the streets, um, we have to find a way as a community, as how they say, help us one to another, to
Mhm.
bring hope, to bring life. And you know what? In the end, it will bring freedom.
There you
Yeah.
go. True.
You know what sticks out to me in this, in that whole entire portion that we were reading and we heard, was the fact that you have been the veterans of creative suffering. And to me, that resonates so much so that as I think about the stance that I take specifically on the mental health and mental wellness space, that and Mrs. Sapp, you actually touched upon it as well, that we can find ourselves in a state of hopelessness because of our own perceptions, miseducation, and unwillingness to learn a different and a new way. That
Right.
complacency that we have to say, they're going to take me as I am, no matter what it is, and to leave my freedom up to another, then leaves me no opportunity to take the responsibility in my hand to see myself move forward. So, what I'm hearing here is that I need to not just hold someone else accountable for my freedom, but I need to hold me accountable for my freedom. And my freedom really doesn't have much to do with the external factors as much as it has to do with the internal factors and the way in which we're deciding to show up for ourselves individually so that we can show up in the collective unit, the collective community, to be able to push us all forward. I'm leaving that out there to then say to us, right? Why is it, or where do you think that we need to really pick up the mantle place from, right? Where's the mantle piece? Because there's so many spaces that people say we can pick it up. Is it our duty to actually figure out where to pick up our mantle, or are we just supposed to jump in and ask people to give us direction? What's so significant about this mantle piece?
Each one of us were given at birth, and I had this conversation with my pastor. Um, at birth, we're equipped. We come into this world equipped, um, and oftentimes we let our circumstances or situations dictate to us what we do. However, it was predestined that on this day this conversation would take place. Now, whether we showed up for it or not is on us. But it was predestined that this conversation would take place. God has given each and every one of us an ability, not for ourselves, but for others. Now, how long I'm gonna sit on what He gave me to do to help somebody else is on me. However, I can't blame nobody but myself when it doesn't happen. Like there is so much power in our community. Like we start a fad and the world takes it, and whether in music and fashion, but we don't think like let's help each other to build. Let's not patronize their business. But I got a sister that got a business. Instead of buying my T-shirt from Walmart, I'm going to her because you know what? That's my sister, and I can help her. She can help me because we're all helpers one to another. When we get the concept of community, when we get the concept of selfless giving, when we get that concept and understand everything that is I came equipped with is not for me, but for me to help somebody else, and everybody selflessly without, because when you say partnership, a lot of people say partnership, but it's one-sided or one way. But when we get the concept of community, partnership, and giving, and not selflessly, not just, so I can brag or put a picture on Facebook that I did this, no, but to help better mankind, each other, and our communities, that's when we really can rally together and move and push the needle on bringing hope and bringing freedom and bringing whatever else we need, because we're already equipped with it. It's just about coming together, building together, and being selfless and without motive or agenda.
I just want to say this, taking it all in and hearing what you had to say, Brother Sat. There have been countless people who've taken up the mantle and come into communities and try to give of themselves selflessly. But what happens when you have people who the distrust is there, or even when you give it to them and you're trying your best, they're refusing it and pushing it away. So we're in a place where to get people to recognize and to see that, to have enough hope to take what you're giving. Right. To take and embrace what you have to offer. I mean, schools and money. It's just like they would say about school systems and things. You can pour money into these systems and pour money, and you can pour manpower in there, but there has to be another level of connection. Which is why when I think about the dream that Dr. King had at the time, and thinking about where we are now, and thinking about individuals and how they perceive that dream today, are we really thinking that those things that he was fighting for are the same things that we need to embrace today? When we have these conversations with some people, they don't see what we saw, because that experience was not their experience. Playing my children and the black children, little black girls, the little white boys, or whatever, playing together. Well, the concept of black and white, everything is getting mangled because we have interracial relationships and marriages, and things are changing, because so they're not able to, no longer able to identify with any of these issues. It seems like there is a disconnect, a disconnect from what we are trying to offer and what, like you were talking about, Brother Sat, and what they sense as what that is really needed. I think about that concept of the slaves being free. I think about Emancipation Proclamation and why we celebrate Juneteenth. Why? Because freedom was already declared, and they were over there still going on business as usual, unaware that freedom already existed for them. And then we say free. Were they really free?
Yeah.
I have been trained and taught to be dependent.
Mm.
I have been pulled on a crutch, my food, whatever it is. It may not have been great, but it was provided for me. I did not have to worry. I had my little function in my spot. It might have been my little portion of the field I picked from. But I knew that that was my thing. And then all of a sudden, you cut me off.
Mm.
Cut off. I no longer had the resources or the intellect
Right.
or the trust factor there to go out and become what I needed to become as a free person. So we think about Booker T. Washington. Why
on.
that discrepancy between him and
And
Garvey
Harvey,
and the others? Because he's talked about what you were
the
talking about,
boys.
Jackie,
Hmm.
teaching us self-responsibility. So
Mhm.
some of the things that we gained were, yes, they were a gain to our advantage, but sometimes that integration, the things that we sought became a. Think about Johnson, and not just him when we're talking about the New Deal, when they talked about giving these welfare reform programs and giving supports that were supposed to help us get back on our feet. They became more of a crutch and they crippled us.
True.
Hmm.
We
Absolutely.
got lost in the sauce somewhere. So I'm listening and I hear the dream and I do embrace it, but I'm like, where are we today? How
Yeah.
are we to get back on track?
Or get on track, because maybe we never even were on track in the first place. I just gonna throw that out there.
Well, with that, maybe at that period in time, that was on track. I don't know. You know what I'm
But
saying?
that
That
was
was
on track based
training
upon his Martin Luther King's expressed
assessment.
vision and assessment. And at that point in time, people did not agree with him. They fought against him,
Yeah.
and he only became loved after death. Only until people began to see the vision from another perspective in his dead state did people begin to pick up the mantle. So my question really was about the mantle, real
Right.
time, live time, now, right?
Right.
How do we see ourselves inside of this process as we look back, as we think about where we are critically in our state of mind? We got suicide rates are high, unemployment, we're struggling, inflation, things are out of control. We're coming up with people who are coming to political offices. They're looking to say that they are advocating on our behalf. They're making statements and saying that they are there and they're here for us.
Yes.
Where How do they help us recognize, and how do we recognize when they are advocating for us to be able to get back or get to a place of healing, wellness, wholeness? That's where I am with this conversation. It's to say it was real. What Dr. King spoke about was a real thing, and I'm still feeling the repercussions. The blood is in the soil. How do we as community leaders begin to have real conversations that address what it is that is screaming from our grounds, from out of these houses, from out of like, the streets where we have people, young children killing each other for sneakers and food and different things like that? What is it that we need to do as pillars of the community, whether it be small scale or large scale? Where is it that our light shines? And thank you. Shout out to Brother Ronald Marshall for tuning in. We got a lot of our faithful listeners. We thank you guys and we love you guys for always coming in and liking and sharing your comments. Continue to share. Today, though, at this moment, where is it that we as individuals here on this platform, where do we take this stand? So how do we inspire and instill the hope back into the community, not from a place of, yes, I have the dream. You can share your dream, but does that dream really
Get hands
resonate
on.
with the people, right? With what's happening so that the people can feel free. Like I just want to feel some freedom. That's why I won't go to work on my birthday, because I just want to be able to feel some freedom. Because every other day, the year. I gotta go and I gotta do this and I gotta do that. I'm gonna take my little bitty check and I'm gonna go buy me something from Rainbows and I'm gonna go do this and go on my vacation and have my crab boil because I never ever get a chance to really feel freedom. That
Why
is
I
the
don't
only
vote?
freedom.
Why
I
I don't
won't vote.
vote? Because it doesn't come.
It doesn't, that's what they said. That's what
That
they
don't
said.
make a difference for me.
No,
Yeah.
that's good. That's good. You know, one of the things, just like you were saying, you know, what do we do? It's like I said, we didn't get here overnight. You know, so I understand
Mhm.
it's going
Good.
to be, you know, it's going to be a process. You know, but one of the things that you know, and I've believed this for a minute, you know, is the fact that technology is not always our friend. You know, and we have all of these generations that have come, you know, just say from Dr. King all the way even up until now, you know, and if you would even talk to a lot of the young kids, they say the Generation X, you know, the millennials and that type of thing, their way of thinking is totally different
Yeah.
than what we think or what we thought then, and even how we've grown to where we are now, because we've
Right.
seen, you know, a lot of the atrocities, and we've seen the racism, and we've seen the unfairness, and we've seen all of that. And then when you ask them, do you feel as though, you know, there's racism or how bad is racism? They'll say, no, it's good. I'm good. Really? It's good. See, and to me, it's, you know, to where we have to begin to reteach them, because society itself, just because of the fact that they let one or two, or they see one or two people that look like them get some money and begin to do some things. All right, that's one thing. But I look at it with the analogy of this: when you talk about a lot of young kids, I'm going to the NFL. I'm going to the NFL. I'm gonna make it happen. Your chances of going to the NFL is slim to none. Slim to none. But they don't believe that. So when
Right.
you talk to them about, why don't you educate yourself? You know, think about this trade, think about that trade. That's demeaning to them, because I'm going to the NFL and I'm going to make all of this money.
When it doesn't
That
happen.
dream, that dream.
But it doesn't happen that way.
That's the
So we
importance
have
of
to
a
begin to
dream.
start training and changing the mindset of, because then when it doesn't happen, now all of a sudden, where are they left? They're 22, 23, 24 years old, trying to find a job, basically with no education, because they didn't make it. You know, so now we're back to where, you know, back to now I'm stuck. Now I'm in prison. Now I can't make it. Why is that? Because, you know, from the onset, your thinking wasn't right. So we have to find some kind of way. And I like Mama Chan, how you were saying that it has to be a different level of connection. I like that. I'm gonna use that. Don't hate me now. I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna take that somewhere. But it has to be a different level of connection when we talk to our kids and begin to bring them to a place of understanding where, like you said, we can't continue to be in that type of mindset that's going to hold us down and think that it's somebody else's fault that I'm where I am. No, it's not anybody else's fault, just because of the fact that you have to not go to work. You can still do it. You can still be successful. You can still do the things that you want to do. You can still have your little piece of freedom, just like you said. You know, I'm gonna take my time off my job and get the things that I want to get. No, I mean, you know, yes, I had an opportunity to go work at FA and do some things or whatever, but not because of the fact that I was somebody, because I had to work.
Because are we really, is that really freedom?
I had some failures, but just because and I look at that, you know, that word failure doesn't mean that I'm a failure or I didn't make it. It just means that particular piece didn't work. So what's going to work?
Another way. That's right.
Just because it didn't work don't mean that I'm a failure. That means that one just didn't work. That means I'm close to where I want to be, because I know what not to do at this particular point.
That's right. That's right.
And then move
And I'm gonna jump in there, brother Sam.
Come on in there. Come on in there.
You just spread the table. When you think of that, and one thing I applaud our community, and one of the good things that came out of this COVID thing, although people lost jobs, it forced some of them to use their creativity as entrepreneurs.
Yep.
It gave them a freedom, although they're not up and running like they need to, but it gave them a certain freedom. And I'm enjoying this freedom right now. You know, I lost my job on the 19th, right? I sit back and I look at the freedom I felt. And my pastor asked me this question today: how have you been doing since you have not been working? And I said, I never stopped working. I never stopped working. I went because in all actuality, me leaving my job freed me up to do the vision and the purpose that God created me to do all the time. And so it may not be give me the monetary, but it's still fulfilling purpose, and it still gave me the freedom that I needed from being under the foot of somebody to being able to do what God called me and purposed me and destined me to do, which is to help others. So when you look at your circumstance and your situation, don't die. Don't let it. And I said, I read something. It said, you may fall, you may fail, but you didn't fall. You may fall, but you didn't fail. And I'm like, okay, I picked that apart. And I said, you know what? A lot of people fail and think that it's the end of the world. No,
Right.
that's just, you take the lessons that you learn and you propel forward. But that's not people without hope. That's somebody that said, you know what? I got a vision. I can see it. I can feel it. I can taste it. And they're determined and they're persistent in going after it, as opposed to the person who's not mentally well and gets down in the dumps, get depression, go through the anxiety, how my bill's gonna be paid. It's all how your mind is, where your mind is at. Now, I thought after being at a job for 16 years that I would break down and cry. 16 years, one place, I knew how much my check was gonna be, my benefits was paid. But you know what? I didn't cry. I was happy because it showed me the possibility and the potential of what's next. And I always teach people, and I teach this and I say this, ending is nothing but a beginning. Right. So don't get mad at the ending, because it opens you up to something new to start. And this is what
something new.
There you go, Ned. There you go. Something, you end one thing, but you start another. And that's the mindset that we have to get. A lot of people lost jobs in COVID, hopeless. Lost homes in COVID, hopeless. And it was like, when you look at how the African community is, you're never going to be without. As long as you got a sister or a brother that you got left or right, you can go to. But we got to get that back. That mentality.
That's what we got to have back.
They got to learn that here. We have yet to have really understood the cultural context of what that actually looks like. We think that we know, but we have yet to really understand that.
Mindset of independence is what has been perpetuated here.
Yes.
Pull myself up.
By the
me, I did it. I and what I can do for myself. I see when we're talking about taking this mantle. The first place that I need to take it is to me.
Yes.
That's what I was looking for.
We got individuals who are hurting, going out and trying to take a mantle to somebody else, and in the midst of their pain, causing more, they're bleeding on other people, all under the guise of trying to help you. But they're taking their issues, they're bleeding issues and bleeding on everybody else.
Come on, mother.
So instead of encouraging and motivating, we're destroying, and whatever little bit of hope they had, we're robbing them of it. For them to see, I think of the scripture, because I can't, but that's who I am. How did they overcome? By the blood of the Lamb and the words of their testimony.
Come on.
So we have to become living
testimonies. Which means you got to go through the test. You got to go through the test.
Yes, we have to be the community for somebody else when we see them in need, so that they can
by our example
build their trust. They can trust us to know that I'm not here. I don't have a hidden agenda. I'm just gonna do for you because I can.
There you go.
Yep.
I'm just gonna go over here without so selfishly thinking and put this over here. Why? Because I can. And sometimes it's a sacrifice. I have to sacrifice something.
There it is.
And it can't just be all about me. It reminds me of the buffet where I go, it's for everybody, but I go and get my plate and pile it all up, and there's nothing left for anybody else because I took it all.
So that actually makes me think about Lady Ford. Don't be mad at me, but it makes me think about you. It makes me think about you and Pastor Ford as you continually on Sunday. And I kind of was talking about this with Jackie this morning. But on Sunday, you made reference to having to come back out of vacation to be able to be there and stand in, because your husband is married to the church. He's married to the community, and what that sacrifice looks like. In that moment, I could look at that in so many different ways, but there was both a hope established and a hope and a need and a desire for you and pastor to be able to have a community upon which can reciprocate the needs there. And so I'm throwing it out to you just to just ask you about the what the essence of hope means and looks like for you as a leader within the community as well as a participant within the community.
Well, personally, my struggles are, I don't know if I want to say struggles after I hear Mother talk, but my concern is for our community. It's hard because for me, for years, is no connection. It's like no. I know you got your thing, like she say, you pile all this food on your plate and you eat it all, and you don't save none for nobody else. That's kind of what I think that's kind of what I have experienced. I can't speak for no one else, but like you was talking about that hope because of Jesus and because I know Him, that bring that hope. But I'm not gonna lie and tell you, it's not frustration still there, but yet it's still I trust in Him. It can sometimes be hard, sometimes it can be rewarding. Sometimes it can be frustration, but that don't stop. I don't believe for me or Pastor, it don't stop us from continuing doing what we're doing. You know,
Yeah.
someone in that time zone or whatever is going to be blessed. My pastor used to say, if I can help one person a day, if I can call the sinner from going astray, then my living will not be
in vain.
So,
Yeah. That's a real advocate. I think that that's one of the greatest mantles that you can pick up, right? Is to be the pillar of hope and light within a community that is suffering. I know Jackie had sent over something we had yesterday when we were talking. There was this clip that had said you can live for a month without food, 3 days without water, and 5 minutes without air, but you can't live a second without hope. And so what Martin Luther King did in the moment of that speech was he instilled a hope and a faith. He activated a faith in the atmosphere that allowed individuals to see themselves in another space outside of the individual circumstances and the pressures of life as it existed in that moment, and gave them almost like it was. I think about the energy pill or the energizing bunny, gave them a battery to go on for a lifetime.
Because you have to be able to grasp it. Go ahead, Ned.
No, I'm sorry. So
yeah, it's still running. It's causing us to question.
And
We're there.
it still rings true today.
It does. One of the things that I guess I wanted to preference was, I think, and Mom started the conversation on sacrifice. I think one of the biggest pieces of the mantle that gets missed, and the reason why I think so many folks are hesitant to take that mantle, that responsibility on, is because they see the sacrifice that is immediately attached to it. And some of us are so instantaneous in what we want in our results that we realize that process of being there and being the pillar in your community, that process of taking on that challenge of being the voice of reason, being the advocate, being, that example, that living example, requires some major sacrifices. And it's across the board. It's time, it's finances, it's resources. And a lot of folks don't want to give of themselves because they're in this I mode. As I think someone mentioned, it's all about me, my. I'm pulling up my bootstraps and I got myself out of this.
Pull myself up.
Right. And so when you're in that way of thinking, and listen, to each his own, but if you're in that mindset, there's no way you can bring someone up with you. There's no way that you can, carry someone or help someone else along the way because you're too busy consumed with your own stuff. And when you're doing that, you can't be in a place of servitude. You can't be in a place of sacrifice, and you can't be in a place of creating hope. You're dealing with your own daily living, but you're not establishing or helping others enjoy and understand the power of hope. And that comes from sacrifice. That comes from being able to give of oneself without, an agenda of I'm going to get this, I'm going to get that. It's this is going to benefit us. And until we start thinking that way and operating that way and modeling that behavior, which I think is really important, being able to model the behavior that we'd like to see. I said that to someone recently. I was in the gymnasium talking with a group of guys, and I felt myself as the older statesman in the room.
OG.
All right, bruh.
In the room. But I said to the guys, I said, one of the things that's always been the model that I learned from the guys who came up before me was presence and consistency, right? Being present, meaning that you are there, you're actively a part of the process, and you're consistent with that active part of the process. It isn't a fly-by-night. It isn't I stroked that. I came in, I did my little two-step, and then I got out of the way. It's you are in it for the long haul. And a lot of folks just don't have that stick-to-itness anymore. Right. Because they want the right now.
Yeah. I have a question. You finished through that. I just, Lady Ford, I have this question for you.
For me.
I'm posing it to you and Pastor Ford in his absence as you speak to your ministry.
Okay.
Do you see your ministry as one of investing in individuals? Is that how you see yourself?
I think she was asking Lady Ford, Brother Ned. I think she was giving that question to Lady Ford, right, Mom?
I hear you, but I don't hear. That's all. Well, say it again, Mother.
I
don't know how to turn up.
I mean, you and your ministry has been viable for over 30 years.
Yes, ma'am.
Actively engaged in the community. Do you see the role? How do you see your role? Do you see your role in the community as one of investing in individuals? Or do you see it more as a focus on building this ministry up and operating, presenting there as a resource? How do you view, and I think I'm putting this as indicative of all of ministry, but just how you see your role, because that is who you are and how you identify in your community.
Well, I can truly say I see it twofold. In us as a community, I mean, as a church, invested in individuals, because from the beginning, that's what when we first started, that's what it was all about, investing in individual, because Pastor Ford, he was in prison, came out of prison on crack, so his mindset was like, I need to go help somebody else. So that what it was all about. We was out in the streets, we was doing stuff. It wasn't about like coming in the building. It was like pursuing individuals. That's what he did, because I think he reflected from his life and said, okay, if I can do this, I can show them they can do this. The other, I need to let him talk on the other half. But yeah. But I see. I'm gonna be real with y'all.
Yes.
It's been a journey. It's been a journey, and I know God got us here at this particular time, and the transition things we go through. I think this is what we are called to do, and I'm trying to stay on the right path. And like you say yesterday, keep that hope. Don't let my hope be deferred. Don't let situation cause my hope to die. So that's kind of where I stand. But I wanted to say one thing. What Mr. Ned was talking about being sacrificing. I just want to use this. On Mother's Day, I think a year ago, I think Ms. Monica was there. I began to talk about my mom and how my mom, like, she had 12 kids and she was going through this situation. I'm like, why she keep doing that? Why is she still there? Why she did? And right in the middle of my sermon, God said, she sacrificed for you. I was thinking about me, but he let me know she stayed there, because if she would have left, she wouldn't have had nowhere to take no 12 kids. So she sacrificed herself for us. And in that moment, when about 2 years ago, it's like, I don't know, it's like something just clicked in me. It's like sacrifice became a whole nother outlet for me. It ain't
Yes.
about me. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, I'm like, that's why my mama did what she did. Because she sacrificed, but I didn't know what it was. I thought it was neglect. And a lot of people think it's neglect. But she was sacrificing for me. And so it caused me to see sacrifice as a whole nother thing. Now my focus is on helping others. You know, I can go and tell a woman you can make it because I've been through that. I know what God can do. It ain't about me. It's about what God is trying to get through me. So now my focus on sacrifice is totally different. And when I got that sacrifice, my hope became even bigger. In the sacrifice. It was like that. But now when I seen this not about me, it's like something just popped in me, and like I'm like, why didn't you know that all the time? But that's where I'm at. And I heard Dr. King say, with faith. He kept saying that, with faith. And I want
Yes.
Connected the two.
He said, with faith. Even though I still have my faith. Even though these situations look rough, I still have my faith. And I'm going all over the place. And
now you good.
You did. You're doing good because you're talking even about Martin Luther King's life.
And then you said, for me, a lot of times we couldn't do better. I'm talking for me. We couldn't do better because we never seen better. I'm talking about from my life.
Yes, that's right.
Everybody knows Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders stayed right where I stayed. But you know what his mom did? She took him out of the community and took him across on McGregor and showed him what he can accomplish, and he became that. You know, I ain't saying that my mom couldn't do it, but some people didn't have that luxury of their parents taking them to McGregor. You know, I was scared to go to McGregor back in the day. Cause after 6, you better not be over that way. But the Deion Sanders mama kept taking him. And then the people come into our community and get these basketball players and football players say, you go and make all this money. That's all they know. That's all they present to them is that money. They don't say, let me take you and give you an education along with that. We just think about making that money. Like, if I make that money, I'm gonna get my mama out of Dumbo. That's the first thing they say. Yes. My mama a new house. Cause that's all we seen and that's all we knew. But now it's different. Sometimes when it's kind of religious, people don't want to be real and say, tell the thing verbatim.
You tell it like it is. Yeah.
Right. So that's a lot that I didn't know nothing about. I went to high school. I didn't know nothing about I could educate my life further. I didn't have that. All I seen was what my mother did. So I listened and I got around people that knew. Then I'm like, okay, Mom, you can do this. So I started doing it. Now because I do it, I don't keep it for myself. I tell Marche she can do it. I tell Greg he can do it.
That's it, right there. That's where we're going.
Right, and now for me, not just Marche, Greg, or whoever. My goal is to just help somebody. Girl, you can do that. Girl, yes, you can, because I know they can. So that hope and that faith that I have, I just transferred to someone else.
Yes, it's catching you.
Yeah,
it's contagious.
Blooming where you're planted. Blooming where you're planted. And that's where that each one reach one. We want the mantle to be a big thing and think it's for somebody else on a bigger stage and platform, when what it calls you for is to do it where you are. Like your mother did it. She did it in the best way she knew how.
That's right.
She started with her 12.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's so funny because that's exactly what he ended off on. And he said, this is the faith that I go back to the South with.
Yes,
with this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. With this faith, We will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. It is with this faith that we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together. He didn't say that it wouldn't be a struggle, but we struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up
Oh,
for freedom together,
Mhm.
knowing that we will be free. True
hallelujah.
freedom will come one day.
One day.
One day.
Day.
Even though it's an urgency of now, it may not be here, it may be deferred, but I have a faith that this thing that I put my hope in will
Yes.
be realized.
That
One
sacrifice
day.
I'm
Yes,
willing to lose my life for.
Yes, I can
right,
keep on
right.
going one day, one more
That's
day.
right.
Hmm.
This
Yes,
has been a beautiful moment to continue on thinking about how hope no longer has to be deferred, but that we can have hope, maintain hope, and continue to have the faith to know that we have yet another opportunity to move forward. What Dr. Martin Luther King has done is he's paved yet again, he's continuing to pave a way for us to hold ourselves accountable to relationship building. This is where we will find our wellness state, our wholeness, and find out
Mhm.
the depth of who we are inside of the community. And so, as we continue to have this conversation, we're going to be back here again next week in the throne room,
Yes.
taking on more of what Dr. King said, looking at some of those issues and concerns that are plaguing and still continuing to plague our communities, lifting up some of those guest voices who say they are here carrying on the mantle, really getting into the space of how do we go from just being the advocate to being willing to sacrifice for another so that we become pillars of hope, inspirations of hope, uh, those places and spaces of faith that continue to build us as a community of people together. I can't wait for the next conversation. I'm going to ask that each of you guys leave something for the people for today. You know how this ends. Yeah, this ain't a surprise. So, go ahead, Jackie. What do you have for the people?
From a 5-year-old, my nephew was 5 years old, and I asked him, I said, "What is faith?" And he said, "Auntie, faith is believing without seeing." And I say to you today, what are you believing and trusting for that you can't see right now, but you're standing firm and staying consistent, being persistent for? What is it that you dream of? What is it that you possess? You may not see it now, but what is it that you're hoping for? And who is it that you need? Because sometimes God will put what you need in somebody that you don't like to see how bad you
right.
want it and how bad you'll go after it. But what is
That's
it
it.
that you're believing and hoping for? Yes.
Mm,
What is it that you're
mm,
believing and hoping for? That's
Yes.
what I want everybody to think about.
Brother Ned.
Wow. So I guess for me, it's being able to model the behavior you'd like to see. Right? We all pray, we hope, we dream, we believe, but the true matter of faith is, being able to operate in that place when you don't see it. And so
Right.
modeling that behavior, modeling what you want the generation behind you to be able to learn, we have to display it. We have to be able to do it. So be prepared and ready to just model the behavior, learn it and model it.
Mm, good.
Ditto.
Come on, Lady Ford.
I said ditto.
It's a ditto. You gotta give us more than a ditto. Your words are strong
I was about to
now.
say, all that you got over
No,
Come
there.
on with that push. Come on with that push.
no, no.
I done pushed through this whole conversation. Come on now. Push it out. Push to inspire
Right.
us.
Faith, faith, faith.
Yes.
Faith for me is not giving up. When it
Mm,
seems like everything's going, just keep the faith, knowing that God. I'm always gonna talk about God, y'all.
yes,
That
yes.
Yes.
God
That's
is
it.
exceedingly abundantly more than we can ask.
Yes.
So just hold on to what you believe and don't let go. No.
That's good. Mother.
For me, I just want to say to believe in yourself,
Yeah.
Mm.
See,
to
she
believe in you and the power of you,
had it.
that you
Um,
possess it and that you can attain it, that you are enough. Just what you have is
yeah.
enough, not to put it off and wait until this time. That in this moment, you have what it takes to move, to begin to move
Right.
yourself in the direction that you need to go.
Come on.
All of,
Amen.
right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's good.
That's good.
I love each and every one of you guys for listening. My last little tidbit just has to do with us knowing that each of us have a responsibility. No matter how great or small we think it is something that plays in the greater grand scheme of things. It is
Mm.
bigger than what we know, bigger
Yeah.
than what we see, and bigger than what we realize. So
Mm.
be trusting in the process and love, and most importantly, be willing to listen. Be willing to
Yes.
listen. Be willing to listen. We can't wait to see you guys back here next week, y'all. Uh, at 5 p.m. in the throne room. If you want to
Mm.
catch us again for another short, we will have an extension of this Mother and I on the Win Win Women's Show tomorrow, Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. You can visit us on the Win Win Women's Network TV network at 6 p.m. to be able to get more of this. But we love y'all. We thank y'all. Please be sure to drop in questions and comments, share so that we can always continue to maintain the voice of the people. We love y'all and we can't wait to see you guys next week. Have a blessed rest of the week. Bye bye.
Bye,